Welcome to Driven, the Unscripted Success podcast, with your hosts, Mike Manino and Nariman Hamden, bringing you insights and stories on achieving personal, professional, and financial success.
Hey guys, I'm Nariman Hamden, and this is Driven, Unscripted Success podcast. We have a great guest on today. We have Sandra Ochoa. Sandra has been in the healthcare industry for over 18 years. She started off by running medical centers and then decided to have a little shift in her career or change and started her own healthcare insurance company called Vmax. Hey Sandra, how you doing?
Hi, how are you? I'm very happy to be here today and having this chat with you.
I'm glad that you came on. Appreciate it. So why don't we start off by kicking things off with you telling us a little bit about what you do and how you got to where you are.
Oh yeah, so I started, like I said, 18 years ago, right out of college. I was actually going to college when I started in the healthcare industry. I was studying to become a teacher, however, that never flourished, never happened, because I kind of like started as a front desk, then insurance coordinator, then I became a director and a manager and a regional, and kind of like continue my path in the healthcare industry, specifically in the managed care, which is running medical centers for seniors most of the time, and then kind of like the operational side of that, and then how to grow those medical centers, how to expand in different markets, not only regional, but also national. So then that was kind of like my career for 18 years. I was just getting really good at that. And until my last company that I was with, I was a national VP of sales and growth. And when I started with them, they only had 7 locations. And by the time I left, it was 170 locations.
Wow.
And I was managing 7 different states. So
Yeah, that's a lot. Good for you.
yeah, phenomenal growth, phenomenal growth. But then, sometimes in life, you go to that point in your life that you're like, okay, where do I go from here? And the company unfortunately went into a really bad phase. They had to do bankruptcy and they have to sell some of the states, etc. And that was kind of like the turning point for me. That it was like, okay, well, I've been building empires for other people. I think it's time that I start putting something together for me, for my family, for my wealth, my legacy. And that's kind of like where Vmax Insurance came about. We've been in South Florida for about 2 years now. And we're very excited in the path that we're going.
That's fantastic. Congratulations. You can tell by the smile on your face, it's going well and it's continuing to grow. So let me ask you a question. There's obviously a lot of competition in the health insurance space. What sets you apart and what comes easy to you that others find challenging?
Yeah, that's a great question. So in terms of competition, I feel that I always say this. I always say there is enough fish in the water for everyone to eat. So our agency provides pretty similar services than many other agencies out there, which is providing a healthcare policy to our clients. However, I think that the difference that we make is the delivery of that. We pride ourselves on calling ourselves a little bit of a boutique agency because we work with our clients very much hand to hand. We sit with them, we go over all of their needs to make sure that we cover everything that they're looking for, from what type of a specialist they use, the type of medications they use, even the type of hospitals that they go to. So we can make sure that we select the best product that fits their needs. And that's where a lot of agents and brokers out there don't do. Number one, they don't take the time. So that's where we try to make a difference. And then in terms of what do we bring different to the healthcare industry is mostly the background that I have based on the other side of the business, which is the medical part. and understanding that deeply from the operational side to the revenue side to the utilization side. So because I understand that, then I'm able to form really strong bonds with medical groups to work with our brokers and then bring our services together to provide it to their clients. So that's really where I think Vmax is a little bit different than many other FMOs and field agency organizations out there.
Sure, yeah, the whole back end of it and the operations side, which brought you to the insurance side and understanding how to explain things to your clients and knowing the insides of what really goes on back there,
That is
Yeah,
correct. That
that's
is
a great
correct.
advantage, that's for sure.
Yeah.
So when you think back, are there any moments that you'd say really changed the game for your career?
Well, I think that the biggest moment that changed my career was in two phases. One, I was in a regional company here in South Florida that they had decided to sell. That was about 10 years ago, 17 years ago. So they decided to sell to a healthcare company, and one of the biggest kind of like in your face moment was when, well, the healthcare company said to the owner, fine, we're buying you. However, we are replacing the entire executive team, the entire C-suite. We're
Wow.
bringing in our own team. And we're going to do it in a transition period of 6 months. And with that company, I was also with them since the beginning, right? When they had like 4 or 5 locations. And by the time that they sold, they had about 25 locations. So I was part of the core team, and I felt that I'm here for the long run, right? Everybody thinks that you're gonna be there, you're
Sure.
gonna build the business, you're gonna be there forever. And that was a hard conversation to have with our CEO when he comes up to you and he kind of like needs to let you know that, hey, this is part of what they're asking as part of the deal. And that's where I made a decision. And I said, you know what? I don't think I'm going to stay here 6 months waiting for someone to tell me how to transition and how to move my team under them to get fired anyways. So that's kind of like when I said, I'm okay, I'm good. I had other offers anyways, and then I went from regional to a national role. And that was a big learning because I always tell everybody it's very different to manage 4, 5, 10 medical locations than doing it at a national scale
Sure.
and at a big number, right? So that was a huge learning for me, but also it was a great opportunity because it provided me with a huge picture, broader picture into the industry
Mhm.
and the experience, right, that you gain from having that at a national level. So that was big because he actually, some people might see it as, oh, Sandra, but you didn't say, or they replace you. Well, the way that I see it is, you know what? I said, this is an opportunity to go to the next level. And
Yes.
really, that's where my name started to kind of like position itself at a national level in the industry. So I kind of say, you know what? Thank you for that. Because probably if that would have not happened, I would have still been in that company, just knowing about South Florida and not having the experience of five,
Sure.
6, 7 different states, right? So again, with the bad always comes a good.
Absolutely. One door closes, another opens. So,
Yep.
absolutely. So, what's a skill or habit you think doesn't get enough credit for contributing to your success?
I think grit. Grit is so important, just grinding it, just waking up and going. I think that a lot of the time you hear so many motivational speakers and people in Instagram and in other, places talking about, oh, motivation, you need motivation and you need dreams and you need,
Mm.
and all of that is great, but motivation fades. And really what stays is discipline and grit. And because when you start a new business, for example, regardless of whatever business that is, you start in the honeymoon phase, right? In the phase
Uh,
that, oh my God, you're excited. You have your budgets and your money and your new employees and your new office, and things starts going well. But not always gonna go well. I mean, things are gonna get tough. It's gonna be up and downs, and you're gonna lose money. You're gonna lose a lot of money, right? So, so what
yeah,
what
been there.
right? I'm sure. So what really keeps you going is, and the motivation fades. right? Because you're kind of like start doubting yourself in terms of like,
Yeah.
did I make the right decision? Should I just go back to a job that can pay me a 9 to 5 check? So being an entrepreneur is tough. And keeping that motivation is tough. So really what I tell everyone is like, it's not about motivation. It's about grit and discipline and just staying in course. Obviously you pivot as you need to pivot, but that's where I feel a lot of the times, people don't have like a misconception, right? They think, oh, motivation is gonna take me there. It's mostly discipline and definitely
Sure.
grinding.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the motivation gets you started, but
Yeah,
then the discipline and the grinding takes over. And when you have those highs, they're high and you're untouchable. But when those lows come and what you're doing is not working, and I feel like that's what separates, entrepreneurs from, the 9 to 5. And there's nothing wrong with the 9 to 5. It's some people that's their mindset and that works for them and that's wonderful. And then there's the entrepreneurs that just want a little more,
yeah, yeah.
and when you're an entrepreneur and like you said, you hit that low, and that's where the discipline and the grinding comes in because you keep grinding and working and focusing regardless of second guessing yourself in that moment because something's obviously not working in that moment. So that's where you have to know, okay, I have to do something differently. I can't keep doing the same thing,
Right, right,
and so
right.
yeah, it's that roller coaster. But I think entrepreneurs are a little bit sick in the head.
I think so. Yeah.
We like that. We like that torture chamber of going for it and the challenge of it. And,
Yeah.
it's just, I'm an entrepreneur as well. So I get it. And I thrive off of challenges and the setbacks and the low moments because it's like a puzzle.
It
I'm trying to
is.
find that piece to put it back together.
100%. And I can tell you that is so beautiful to see. And just like you said, listen, I know so many executives and people that they are more than capable of building something for themselves, right? And they will do phenomenal because they're actually doing it for other companies. And however, they don't see themselves in that wave, right? Because they're more like, going one path. And again, that's okay. That's what we need in the world.
Yeah.
We need different type of people. And
Yeah.
but to your point, I think entrepreneurs, we have a little bit of something happening in the brain.
Yeah, we're a little off.
A little off.
A little off to say the least. We
Just to
love
keep us
we love
going.
to torture ourselves. But when the fruit of that type of labor pays off, and that accomplishment and that high and that reward from it, there's nothing like it. You know,
100%,
nothing
100%.
like that feeling.
And something else is like, listen, when you're able to accomplish, I don't know, let's say in 2 weeks, in 2 days out of your week, something so amazing, and then have the time the other 3 days to do other things, right? To maybe spend more time with your children, or to maybe take care of yourself and go to the gym, or to go to a small short vacation, right? So as you get used to the life of an entrepreneur, I feel that it's so hard to go back, right? To the
Absolutely.
steady 9 to 5,
Yeah.
But again, those 2 days that you really grind and work is like 24 hours nonstop, right? So
Yeah. I mean, it feels like a whole work week.
yeah, exactly, exactly,
So and it's like
exactly.
I wouldn't trade it for the world because I like being in control of my time and my schedule, and it's definitely you have to have that discipline, to be an entrepreneur or like a high up exec. You have to have that discipline and you have to be organized and you have to be fantastic with time management or
Time management is crucial.
or
Yes.
it will not work. So leading a team has its challenges. I'm sure you know that with your background. So what's your leadership style? And can you give us an example of how it helped you through a tough spot?
So my leadership style, I like to first, with the team, kind of like set the expectations, right? I feel that having very, very clear goals, not only short-term goals, but also long-term goals, and they're both extremely important, right? Sometimes business owners or anyone, right, forgets that the short-term goals are as important as the long-term, because the long-term is really going to give you the vision of where you're going. For example, here in our agency, our long-term goal is that we want to be by 2028 in 10 different states with satellite locations, because right now we have 17 states that we have credentials, so we're able to sell over the computer, over the phone, etc. However, our goal is that by 2028 to have locations, like actual locations in states. So that's the long term, right? So my team knows, okay, we're working towards that, meaning we have to identify, other agencies in those areas. We have to start communicating with them. So again, it's kind of like, in order to get to that, we have to start working now. We have to start visiting the locations, doing some canvassing, doing some networking. So the long term is going to help you with the short term. Now, for the short term, you need to be able to know, all right, before December, we have to reach this number, and we have to have this amount of brokers or this amount of whatever. So what do we do for that? So again, I think that in terms of leadership, I like to set that first. The moment that you set the stage and you make sure that the team that works with you is focused and is so clear of the path, everything else works on its own. I don't like to micromanage. I like to let everyone get their talent and use it the way that they do, and figure it out as they go, right?
Right.
I always tell them, if something goes south, that's okay. We learn from it. Now let's make sure that it doesn't happen again. But
Right.
we learn from it,
Right.
because that's part of learning. And that's where we allow the team that is with you to do what they do best, right? So, and that's what has worked for me, not only at a smaller scale, which is now with Vmax, but when I did it on a national scale, I had 12 directors under me and I had 500 employees, right? So I had to make sure that those directors in each of the states and markets that they were so focused and so clear of what they needed to have to get done in a quarterly basis, in a weekly basis, in a yearly basis, right?
Sure.
That our conversation was never about, oh, what am I supposed to get done this month? No, it's like, he knows what he needs to get done. How are you making that happen? Right? So it shifts the conversation.
Sure. Sure. So when you're building your dream team, what's the one trait you always look for and why?
I would say a couple of basic things. Number one, they need to be hard workers, right? Someone that is a grinder, someone that has that entrepreneur within them, that they see growth as an exciting thing, that is independent, right? Someone that it can come up with their own ideas, their own planning. They need to be the ones that are kind of like part of the team. And yes, I can provide you with the light where we're going, but everything else you need to be able to create it on your own. And I welcome that, and I challenge that, and I want them to do that, right? So I always say, listen, even if you're not from this industry, even if you know zero about Medicare, if you know nothing about healthcare,
Yeah.
if you are a good person, number one. Number two, you have the same culture that we have in terms of like grinding, hard working, being an entrepreneur, going for it. That's good for me. The rest, I can teach you, right? I can teach about Medicare. I
Sure.
can teach about healthcare. I can teach about, the technicalities of things. But I feel that that personality is really what I look for.
Yeah, absolutely. And you need somebody that can take that initiative to be able to delegate or be able to manage their time in order to get everything that's required done, and thinking outside the box at times. Well,
And,
speak
and, and trustworthy too, right? Someone that you trust, that you know that they're going to deliver, that they're going to be on their own, and you don't have to be micromanaging their time.
absolutely. Absolutely. So speaking of thinking outside the box, how do you encourage your team to think outside the box and bring in new ideas to the table?
Well, like I said, right? I tell them, fail. If you fail, at whatever you're trying to work on and it doesn't work, that's really going to push you to think it in a different way, right?
Yeah.
Something super simple, right? We do a lot of community events to educate. One of the biggest things that we love and that I love in our company is to educate the community as much as possible, especially seniors. When seniors are heading into the Medicare age, when they're what we call aging in, going into 65, it's kind of like this black box, right? That seniors don't understand. Like, hey, I'm about to retire. I'm about to get my Medicare. What am I supposed to do? What papers am I supposed to fill out? What are some of the benefits that exist out there? And let me tell you, even people that they are professionals, educated, people that you might think, really, you don't know the process of this? And they don't, because it's not something that is fun to understand. It's not something that you kind of like wake up one day, oh, I'm gonna Google what do I have to do when I turn 65.
Right.
Right?
It's
It's not
the
it's a
last
thing
thing.
that's
It's the last thing on your mind.
right. It's like it's in the back of your mind. It's like, oh, what do I do when I turn, when I get Medicare, right? It's not nothing fun. So what we try to do is to make it fun as you educate seniors. So we have a team that we go out to the community and we do a lot of community events such as Medicare bingo, or we do movie nights bingo, right? So we do things like that really gets the seniors interested into coming, and then we're able to educate them as they're having fun. And the reason why I say this is because a lot of those ideas have failed, right? The teams, they come up with like the coolest idea ever, and then when you put it into action, it's like it kind of like didn't work,
Yeah.
right? So that is where I challenge them and I say, okay, fine, we had zero attendance, or three people attended instead of 45, right? What happened? Go back to the plan, see what didn't work. Was it the RSVP process? Was it the call to action? Was it the confirmation? Was it the day off, right? So I challenge them to always kind of like go back and let's think about it and let's brainstorm it
Sure.
together, right? So we can find different ways of presenting that product. And you can take that for any other business, not just for what I do, right? It's just
Yeah.
having that constant brainstorming and pivoting.
Sure. Sure. And like you said, you have to fail, because if you're not failing, then you can't win.
That's correct. And data. Listen, I love data and I love reporting. And I always say that if you're a good operator, and as a business, you have to be, especially business owner, you need to measure everything. What you don't measure, you don't track. And if you don't track, you don't know what's working and what's not working.
Sure.
From very simple things such as how long is taking your team to pick up the phone, how long are your clients staying on hold, how long is taking for them to close the sale. And again, these are things that you can take to any other product, not just what I do. Or what is your attrition rate? What is your retention rate? When you put things out in social media, what videos are the ones that your clients or your audience are clicking the most, right? Just by looking at that, it can tell
Sure.
you automatically, based on this, your audience is really looking at this type of topic. Well, guess what? Then talk about nothing else. Go down and talk about
Right.
this. Continue that
That's
path,
what they want to
right?
learn about. Yeah.
Right. That's what they want to learn.
Absolutely.
So just data really drives everything else for your business.
Absolutely. Um, so, what's a day in your life look like, and how do you juggle work and everything else?
Oh, that's a
Now that by your eyes.
that's a great question. Listen, yes, I am. As you can see, I use my face expressions a lot.
Okay.
Listen, I see it all the time. People are like, "Oh, I wake up at 5 in the morning and I work out and I do this and I do that." I don't. I tell you the truth. I
Right.
don't. My day begins when my kids have to go to school, get them ready, get them up and loaded, drop them off, and then after that, I have nonstop meetings. Many times nonstop. Sometimes I try to block my time. I'm really disciplined about that. That I do. At least I have 2 to 3 days out of my week that I put them as thinking time, and that is like my block time to catch up on emails, to create things, to come up with ideas. It's kind of like my quiet time. So that for me is like a non-negotiable. But other than that, everything is very open and loose because a lot
Good.
of the times I have clients that they're like, "Hey, can you do lunch?" And I'm like, yep, let's make it happen. Or can I do dinner? And many times my days can start at as early as 10 in the morning, or excuse me, 7 or 10. or 9, but I can end up at 11, right?
Yeah.
Or at 12, or sometimes I go to bed at 2 in the morning because I have to catch up with whatever I need to do. So for me, it's all about, you said it initially, time management during the day. But at the same time, I'm a mom, I'm a wife. I need to keep things balanced. It makes for me, it's extremely valuable and important to give time to my children, to be part of my children's life. My husband is a huge part of my life. He's actually my partner at work, and we have to keep alive outside of Vmax and our business, and that is super important for us.
Absolutely, especially, being married and having the children and working together. So you have to have some sort of balance there because you guys are together 24 hours a day, more or less, essentially,
Yes.
you know. Um, so has there been a book, a podcast, or a person that's really changed your outlook or approach?
There are so many great podcasts and motivators and entrepreneurs out there that they're doing phenomenal things by the way that they're inspiring people and guiding them. One that comes to mind that I really love and I follow her is Margarita Pasos. She is, I believe she's Venezuelan, and she does a lot of her motivation, and she does a lot of conferences in Spanish mostly. I'm bilingual. And the reason why I love her so much is because she's very practical in terms of, for an entrepreneur, how to manage your business, how to do time management. So I follow her a lot. Again, with so many other people. I feel that again we are living in this era that there is so many great information out there. I saw your podcast with your guests. It's also super awesome the way that you're
Yeah.
bringing in people to talk about their stories. And, I think that more and more we're getting exposed to great folks out there just providing information that it's hard for me to tell you, oh, I really love this. I'm open to everyone's idea, and even people internationally. There's some great people coming out internationally with so many good information that you can use in your day to day.
Absolutely. And you did touch on this. It is the era of information. It's almost information overload. It's just it's completely different. I mean, I'm Generation X. I mean, that back in the day to do a book report, you had to go to the library and look up in the
Yeah,
encyclopedias, where now it's like you can just go to Chat GPT. It's even faster than Google, you
it
know?
is. It's incredible. It's incredible. And it's that the times are changing, and we have to adapt to those to the time, right, to AI and to everything that is happening. But the way that I see it is, oh my God, they're actually making, for example, ChatGPT. It makes my life so much easier,
Mine
right?
too. Mine too.
And even
It's your
for,
personal assistant.
yeah,
No,
exactly.
I mean, I'm a real estate agent as well. And before it would take me hours to go and find certain properties, comparables, statistics, this, that. And it's my assistant, little Chat GPT, just does it in minutes. I mean, minutes.
It's incredible. And my ChatGPT, have her trained to be kind of like in my industry, right? Everything about my industry, which I don't know if you kind of are aware of everything that's happening with the big beautiful bill that just came up,
Yes.
that passed, and all the changes that are happening in the marketplace, Obamacare and CMS and Medicare. So every day there's like so many good articles and policies coming up. And back in the day, I had to like sit down and kind of like go and read the entire thing and do my own summary. Now I just get the link of the article, I put it in my chat GPT, and I say, hey, summarize this to me in 10 points or
Right.
whatever. And
Right.
it's able to kind of like go, well, the big beautiful bill is 1,000 pages.
Yeah.
Who has time nowadays to just sit down? And it's
And
not fun reading either.
no,
It's
it's
like
not at all.
it's not like a
At
cute
all.
little novel or something motivational. So it's kind of like, ugh. So you just give it to ChatGPT, and it kind of like gives it to you in a few minutes, and it's like,
Right.
okay.
Where
So
you can
that's where I
comprehend it.
feel, yeah, that is so much better.
Absolutely. How do you tackle learning new things, especially stuff that's way outside of your comfort zone?
So I love learning new things, and I'm very curious. I try to stay as curious as I can. I love to ask questions. If it's something outside of what I know, which is healthcare, I love to Google, Google, look for podcasts, look for information in different places. I love to look for, mostly, if it's a website, making sure that it's like, something that is coming from a government or things like that, to kind of make sure that the source is a source that you can trust. But I just love finding out more. Like you just said
Okay.
about the mortgage industry, right? And realtor industry. And not a few months ago, I don't even know why, I was like learning a bunch of stuff about it. Oh, I remember why. Because one of my friends is an owner of like an agency, a realtor agency, and I heard that there were some changes happening because of some taxes and things like that. And I'm
Mhm.
like, all right, wait, let me look this up. Taka, taka, taka. And I just spent like a few hours just reading about it. And I'm like, oh my God, this is so interesting. So I think
Mhm.
it's the staying curious is the way to go, right? So you can be a little bit well-rounded about everything.
Sure. So speaking of like real estate, obviously it sounds like things are going well for you in your business. As you look towards the future, I'm wondering if or how you create passive income, if you have invested in the past.
So, well, yes, we have invested in the past in other type of businesses. We do own some properties. Going back to real estate,
Yes.
I think that that's always a great way to have a passive income, especially if the property pays itself, right? With the rental, and then you have some extra money. So I feel that's where, obviously, it's always like a plus plus, right? Besides that, for specifically for my business, the way that we also do passive income is by having the sub agencies and satellite locations, like I mentioned initially, which is part of our strategy. As you have satellite locations and you either purchase locations, like a land or a place, and then you bring in agents under that. It kind of like runs on its own, kind of like a franchise.
Sure.
So for us, that's a very interesting model that we are exploring and that we're kind of continue to pursue as we continue to grow. It having like a franchise model to our agency, and then having that as kind of like running on its own, right?
Sure. Um, so as we're wrapping up the interview, what exciting plans or initiatives do you have for the next 6 to 12 months?
Exciting things is we continue to grow in Vmax. We're building a beautiful call center. We're going to be able to provide some new jobs in the community. We're very excited about that. We're gonna start bringing in from 10 to 25 new brokers to be in-house salary, someone that is looking for something more set. So we're extremely excited. And then by the end of the year and probably the beginning of next year, we're gonna double that amount in the call center. So that's kind of like the newest baby happening here in
That's
VMAX,
fantastic.
is building a call center to handle all the calls that are coming in and handle all of our clients. And like I mentioned at the beginning of the interview, is continue to grow. We are in Florida right now. We are South Florida, Central Florida. We're going to continue to expand all over Florida, including Jacksonville, Daytona, and the
Mhm.
other on the northern side of Florida. And then hopefully by early 2026, we can have teams on the ground in Texas, Georgia, and some other states as well.
That's fantastic. Good for you. So one last question for you. If you could go back and look at your 30-year-old self, what would you say to her, knowing what you know today?
I would tell her, I will tell her, keep on doing what you're doing. Because listen, I don't think I would have changed anything in terms of my career path or even my personal path. Maybe the only thing that I would tell her is give yourself more time for you. I feel that us as women, we sometimes forget so much, especially women, entrepreneur, executive with a family and a house and everything that happens. We forget to give time for us and take care of us. Actually, I think that would be the one thing that I would say to Sandra, 30-year-old. A little bit more time for you. Less,
That's
a little less
fantastic.
work, more time for you.
More time because you're going to be grinding later in life. Too
Yeah.
funny. Well, thank you so much for coming on. So if anybody wants to get a hold of you and needs your insurance services, how does one get a hold of you?
Amazing. So they can use as easy as Google for the insurance part, Vmax, Vemax, Vmax Insurance. .com. They can go into our website. They can also look for us in our social media, Vmax Insurance, either in Facebook or Instagram. And for me, individually, Sandra Health Consultant. That's my Instagram. And then same thing with in LinkedIn, Sandra Ochoa, and Facebook as well.
That's wonderful. Well, you heard it, guys. So that's how you get a hold of Sandra and learn more about senior care, health insurance for you 65 plusers that are aging into that. And don't forget to get your discount, your senior citizen discounts as well. Thanks, guys. We'll see you next time.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to Driven, the Unscripted Success Podcast. Want to share your story? Apply to be a guest at drivensuccesspodcast.com/guest.